This is Zombie Chickens podcast, where two heads is better than one, even if they're undead. My name is Marnay.
My name is Megan.
And this is our fourth episode regarding the whole Love and Despair month. And with this episode, we're also going to do another murder case. Each of us will be discussing a murder case. I will be doing Jodi Arias, a lot of people know her, and Travis Alexander. And you will be doing... You forget.
Just 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
It's like me wanting to read here. My name is Megan.
Pamela Smart. There we go.
I thought it was something with a P.
Yeah. I wanted to say Stephanie Smart, and I'm like, no, the previous one was Stephanie. Okay.
With these two cases, we need to put in a disclaimer about sex, drugs, rock and roll, and murder. Gruesome murders.
Explicit content will be in this episode. So if you do not want to listen to that, please skip this episode and listen to the next one. But thank you. Are you going to start for us?
Yes. So with my story, or murder case, it starts on June the 4th, 2008. A 30-year-old legal insurance salesman named Travis Alexander was brutally slain in the bathroom of his Mesa, Arizona home. Is it Mesa or Mesa? I mean, it's...
Mesa?
Mesa? Potato, I think.
Yeah.
His body wasn't discovered for 5 days. Now, my knowledge is very limited when it comes to the whole American, like the outlook of America. But as far as my knowledge goes, and as far as I know as well, Arizona is very hot. So imagine a body sitting in the
5
heat
days.
for 5 days.
Damn.
5 days. For me, it's just imagine the smell.
Yeah.
God, okay. But, I mean, he had been stabbed 27 times, shot in the head, and his throat was slit from ear to ear about 4 inches deep. That's about 10 centimeters. That's almost like decapitation.
Yeah.
Alexander's hands also had defensive wounds. And some of the investigators said that he might have been dead when the gunshot was inflicted. So they're not sure if he was stabbed and then shot, because his body was moved around the house.
So it was very difficult to see which
exactly
came first.
which came first, basically. And obviously, you can imagine 5 days of decomposition, what it's going to do with the body as well, in heat.
In heat, yeah, it obviously progresses the...
Exactly. But his 28-year-old ex-girlfriend, Jodi Arias, was arrested for the murder the following month. At trial, Arias claimed she killed Alexander in self-defense. Now, she gave a lot of stories. She spinned a shitload of stories. I mean, it's very difficult to actually conceive which one is actually the truth.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously they can, with some sort of evidence, get to the part where they know, sort of what happened. If you go to the story about Arias, she was born in 1980 in Salinas, California, to parents Bill and Sandy Arias. She has one older half-sister, plus one younger sister and 2 younger brothers. So it's quite a big family.
Yeah.
She also dropped out of high school and later obtained her GED and moved around often as a young adult. And she also dated various men and dabbled in various religions. I don't know if that's really important about the whole religion thing, because I think it's because I'm not really religious, neither are you. But
I think
it sort of shows a chameleon-like personality.
Yeah, but also I remember this story, and it played a part in her testimony in her trial.
It did, but to me it's something insignificant.
Yeah,
but in a very, very difficult case like this one, it will count not in her favor. Her mom, Sandy Arias, has claimed that her daughter's childhood was normal, but when speaking to investigators, her parents said that she had mental problems and might be bipolar. Now, for me, again, how do you not see that and get the person tested?
Not everyone...
No, it's a difficult thing.
It is a difficult thing.
It's a difficult thing, but...
especially not everyone wants to admit that there's something wrong, because they feel like it's because of their they did something wrong as parents.
But I mean, mental problems, it's something
nothing,
you're born with.
Exactly. It's nothing to do with the parents, well, in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's almost an image thing as well.
No, it definitely is.
Yeah.
But her father told investigators that Jodi hadn't been honest with or open with her parents since they caught her growing marijuana out in the family's Tupperware containers when she was 14 years old. I mean, come now, that's just kids being kids. I mean, one of my friends grew marijuana in his cupboard, and when his mom found out, she freaked out.
But it's not just kids being kids. It's not all kids
exactly
tend to grow marijuana.
I'm growing now, so
yeah, but it's legal now.
Yay for us. But on the stand, Jodi claimed her parents had physically and mentally abused her. Again, that's difficult to actually show that they were physically and mentally abusive towards her, because they will obviously deny it.
Yeah.
But in any case, in September 2006, Arias met Alexander, a 29-year-old legal insurance salesman, for the first time. Now, the thing about Alexander is, he also came from a very big family. I think he has like 7 siblings. They were very poor, and he went to go live with his paternal grandmother. She basically raised him, and he sort of built himself up to working. His grandmother was a Mormon, and even though you're not allowed to say Mormons anymore, he sort of worked in this legal pyramid scheme sort of company where he built himself up. We actually bought his own home.
Yeah.
And rented out 2 of the rooms to his friends. He was speaking at a professional conference for the company he worked at, Prepaid Legal Services in Las Vegas. And that's where they met. Arias was an aspiring photographer living in California, while Arizona was home base for Alexander, but the two quickly hit it off. Within days of meeting Alexander, Arias reportedly broke up with a long-time live-in boyfriend, and as ABC News has reported, the two began a long-distance relationship. Court records also show that they exchanged about 82,000 emails through the course of their acquaintance.
Holy shit.
82,000 emails.
That is fucking ridiculous.
Yep.
Well,
that's a shitload.
Yeah, well, if the way teenagers text these days, it's probably the same.
yeah, but that's like
that is
2000s or late 2000s.
That is a lot of
2006. Emails. We were in high school.
Yeah.
Oh my god. We were in high school in 2006. And that's also basically when cell phones really started up. Where you could text easily, more easily. I mean, for us it was Mix It.
Yeah, and
God,
then
can you remember Mix It?
Yeah, and then I think in our was it towards, well, BBM was a thing, and then I think towards our end of high school, WhatsApp started being a thing.
Exactly, but didn't BBM start? I think more towards 2007, around there.
Yeah, it was like middle high school towards end of high school, and then end of high school. But see, with South Africa, it's a different again
because we're way behind.
Yeah, and also like in America, most people use the iPhone chat thing because they have iPhones.
But in any case, on the stand, Arias claimed that she had a sexual encounter with Alexander within a week of their first meeting, although premarital sex was forbidden in Alexander's Mormon religion, which is true because they're very against the whole sex before marriage thing. But again, that's the religion. In November of that year, Arias converted to Mormonism. Alexander even baptized her. But that's quite quick to move on to being Mormonism, because that's not something easy to do. You need to go to classes. You need to, I think, even write a couple of tests.
Yeah, but
you need to go to all the services.
It's not just a decision you make. What do you call it? Easily. It's not a
no. It's the same with, I want to say, Islam. It's not an easy,
Yeah, but I think with any religion, it's not just like. It's sort of like she jumps to a religion because of people in her life.
But I mean, their relationship was very highly sexual, stormy, and friends of Alexander's portrayed Arias as intensely obsessive. I mean, I heard stories where he would go to the bathroom and she would wait outside of the door waiting for him, or he would talk to his roommates and she would just be there, you know, within the whole vicinity of the conversation. The bitch was cray-cray. I'll say that. Well, the couple broke up after 5 months, but they continued to be physically intimate and stayed in regular contact. Well, in regular contact, I mean, she was there, basically.
So he
all
had
up in
no
his
choice.
face.
He had no choice in the matter.
Well, that's the thing, though. I read somewhere that he talked in confidence to one of his friends, and he said he was addicted to her.
Okay.
But I mean, she is pretty. She's a very pretty girl, very slight, slender. She is in a way a muse, coming from an artist's perspective. She is very, I want to say, not enigmatic, but she does have a very, very
appealing.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's very appealing, and I mean, there's a lot of cases where people say she's very enticing. She draws you in. But Arias lashed out in a jealous rage when Alexander began dating other women, slashing his tires, hacking into his social media account, and more. She broke into his house more than once.
Damn. And how that wasn't like a sign that something isn't right.
Like, she stole a couple of personal possessions. Don't know if it's of his. It's probably of his that she stole. Alexander actually told a friend once that he won't be surprised if you find me dead one day.
So he actually had the suspicions.
Yeah. But by early June 2008, Alexander he was tired of her antics, and he told her to get out of his life forever. But obviously that didn't last very long. So with the murder of Travis Alexander had scheduled a trip to Cancun. Cancun. Why the fuck is there you then? Make it double O. Anyway, he had just missed a very important conference call on the night of June the 4th, 2008 at 7 p.m. So that for his friends was also a very big wake-up call, because he would in no circumstance miss a very important conference call like that.
Okay.
But on June the 9th, having been unable to reach Alexander, people from prepaid legal services went to his home to check on him. It's basically his friends that went to check on him because they were on a holiday. And they were basically almost on their way to leave. Yeah. And they couldn't get hold of him. And they knew the combination code for his garage. So they went through there and found a key to get into the house, and they found a lot of blood. Yeah. By his room. When they entered, they noticed large pools of blood in the hallway leading to the master bathroom, where his body was discovered in the shower in the fetal position. But on the May of 28th, 2008, a gun was stolen from the home of Arias' grandparents in a burglary. She lived with her grandparents at that time, but the shot that was fired, killing or wounding, whichever, Alexander, it's the same sort of gun that was stolen from a grandparent's house.
Okay.
So on June the 2nd, Arias rented a car from Budget Rent a Car in Redding, California, then drove to Mesa to see Alexander. That's actually quite a far distance. And what also happened is when they gave a car, it was a red car, and she said no, she wanted the white car, so it's not noticeable. Okay. Which does give you an indication that it's premeditated. Yeah. But let's go on. On June the 4th, the ex-couple had sex in a shower, illustrated by very raunchy photos discovered by Arias' camera after the murder. So by the time they found his body, that particular day, his friends phoned 911, and even on that first instance of the 911 call, they
mentioned her immediately
mentioned her as a suspect, because they knew her fucked up
history and the way he spoke about.
Because apparently she moved closer, about 10 minutes away, closer to him. I think that was when they broke up, and she never told him.
She never told him that she moved closer. Damn, okay.
But the whole thing was they found a camera and some of the bedding in the washing machine. They believe the camera was hers. And some of the images was deleted, and she put it in the cycle with some jig or bleach, if you must. And the images that was recovered from the device appeared to show Alexander immediately before his murder, as well as a picture that appeared to show a subject on the floor of the bathroom bleeding profusely, the police stated. So what happened was, the images that were taken, obviously they had some sort of sex tape that they were making while having sex. And then he went to have a shower, and she was taking photos of him as well.
While he was in the shower.
And the thing is, all those images are time stamped.
Oh, okay.
And then the last one they have is about 2 minutes later of the body bleeding, which is obviously his body. And in those 2 minutes, he must have. That's when she killed him.
She stabbed him
multiple times.
Yeah.
Shot him in the head. And then also there's a couple of other photos as well that looks like a camera falling, or not falling, but being displaced as if you're dragging a body, because you see a part of a leg as well.
Okay. So it's just the camera angles is at weird angles.
Yes.
Unintentional pictures, basically.
But the thing is, after Alexander's death, but before his body was discovered, Arias had continued to call him and left him several voicemail messages. She was quite smart to
cover tracks, basically.
Her tracks, but not that smart.
Yeah. She just didn't execute it well.
Exactly. I mean, it was very, very thought well, but as we'll see later. It was later alleged that she had accessed Alexander's voicemail messages after his death. She said that Alexander had originally planned to visit in May in 2008, but his plans had changed.
Okay.
But Arias was arrested on July the 15th, 2008 on suspicion of first-degree murder. That's when she was just as a suspect. Now, with the Jodi Arias' trial, like I said before, there was a lot of stories going around with this whole killing part, and she first claimed that she was not there. Okay. That was her
first claim was she wasn't there.
She was not there because she did visit her ex-boyfriend, Ryan. What's the bastard's name? Ryan something. And she actually went to go visit him, but she only visited him like a day later than what they initially planned on.
Oh.
So she did have an alibi.
Yeah.
But not an exact alibi for the
day of the murder.
Exactly. And then when the photos surfaced of her having sex with Alexander, she said that, how are they even sure that it's her? How can it be her? She was not there.
Okay. Does she have a twin sister we don't know about?
Fuck knows.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she was very adamant to go against this whole claim that it was not her in the photos, even though you can see it's her.
It's clearly see it's her.
Yeah. And then later she claimed that there was 2 intruders that came into the house that killed Alexander. Now, again, if we look at the timestamps of those photos, 2 minutes.
Came in 2 minutes, they came in.
Shot the man, stabbed him 27 times, dragged the body to the bathroom.
While she did.
Cleaned the body because the body was cleaned, sort of washed.
Yeah. While she was standing there.
While she was there.
Okay.
Because apparently what they did was they shoved her in a corner or something and told her to be quiet or some sort of something in those lines.
Okay.
And therefore she didn't tell the police because she was afraid of her life. That's the one story.
Okay.
That's the one story. And then later on, when the timestamp details was revealed to her or to the court, she changed the story again to say it was in self-defense. Now,
okay.
First problem is, if you look at photos of Travis Alexander, he's quite a big guy.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like a very sporty person. Secondly, now Jodi is sort of slight, but she is quite tall. But she doesn't really give me the impression of someone that's very strong. But where's the defensive wounds?
Yeah,
she was arrested shortly after his body was found.
And there was no bruising.
No bruising, because you will have marks by some sort of means that will be left behind that you can show, this is my self-defensive wounds.
Yeah.
He had defensive wounds. He had a shitload of defensive wounds on his hands.
But she had not.
She had a broken finger.
Okay.
Put a pin on the finger part. So Jodi said that her life was in danger and that Alexander knocked her to the ground in the bathroom where there was a struggle.
Okay.
She did not have anything to defend herself with. And if she didn't do it, she wouldn't be here today.
Okay.
Well, what she did was she said that he knocked her to the ground, shoved her around a bit, and she ran to the cupboard in the hallway where she knew that he kept a gun. Even though there was no evidence that he even owned a gun and where she shot him.
Okay.
But in any case, Arias' lawyers said that in a testimony tried to prove that Alexander had used her for sex and demeaned her throughout the former couple's relationship. Like, they painted him in a very bad way, which kind of worked because this bitch was, again, she was quite smart. So what she did most of the time is they would have phone sex and she would record it.
Okay.
And one of the recordings, he mentioned that she should touch herself and she sounded like a 12-year-old girl having her first orgasm.
Oh.
And him being a Mormon, that's not good. And he's an elder in the Mormon community as well. The other thing that counted against him is that they got Alexander's ex-girlfriend, Lisa Andrew Dyden, to the stand, who also testified and felt used by Alexander and that he objectified her during their relationship. But they sort of dated on and off in 2007, so that's definitely after Arias and Alexander broke up.
Yeah.
But the court didn't buy Arias' story. In May 2013, a jury convicted her of first-degree murder, but the jury could not reach a unanimous decision on whether to sentence her to death. But Arias testified that the relationship with Alexander became increasingly physically and emotionally abusive, some of which caused Travis's sister to continuously roll her eyes and shake her head in disbelief. Like, everyone that knew him knew that he was not abusive.
Okay.
Arias said that Alexander shook her while saying, "I'm fucking sick of you," then began screaming at me, after which he body slammed me on the floor at the foot of his bed and taunted her, saying, "Don't act like that hurts," before he called her a bitch and kicked her in the ribs. Again, if you were kicked in the ribs, most likely it was might have been shattered or at least bruised, and you will have
those massive
bruises for days on end, even weeks on end. Afterwards, Arias said he went to kick me again, and I put my hand out. So that's when she broke her finger. But they speculate that she broke her finger while dragging his body. Because I don't know if anyone knows, but a dead body is heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
It's very, very, very heavy. And in March 2015, the second jury had also hung around Arias' sentencing, but effectively removed the death penalty from the table. Arias was sentenced to life in prison without parole. And even in prison, she was said to be very manipulative, even towards the guards.
Yeah.
So she's a very manipulative bitch. That's the word. But the thing that's very interesting to me with this whole case is the whole mentality behind it, the whole stalking thing. Because I was reading up about stalking as well. But in reality, stalking is a form of abuse. And current or former intimate partners are both the most common type of stalker and often the most dangerous. Because they know you. They know you intimately. They know your routes that you take to work, the routes that you take home, the routes that you take to the shops.
They know all your routines. Yeah.
Exactly. And Inspector Lee Barnard, who runs the UK Stalking Threat Assessment Centre, told Broadly earlier that this year that ex-partner stalkers are potentially the most dangerous. One stalking study describes an ex-partner stalking as having easily bruised egos, flimsy interpersonal boundaries, smoldering rage and jealousy, and relentless tenacity. They also typically have an intimate knowledge and often access their victims' lives.
Yeah.
So what we've learned today is, if you have a stalker, burn that bitch.
And also, if you see the signs, like, he clearly knew that she wasn't.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he literally told a friend, don't be
Yeah.
surprised if you find me dead one day.
Well, it's good that he actually did tell his friends, because she was immediately a suspect. So
It's actually a very sad story, to say the least, because, I mean, clearly
she had a part in his heart where, because he
but
wouldn't
I
have
think
kept on.
I think he had a difficulty seeing the difference between lust
And love.
and love.
Yeah.
Because when also apparently when they broke up, he was telling friends that she's not marriage material.
Oh. So he clearly knew that he did not want to marry her, and
She was a fuck buddy.
yeah, fuck.
And I think with him being a Mormon, I don't think that has anything to do with him being a Mormon, but the whole relationship just sounds very physical.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. I mean, even though they weren't together anymore, they still, had catch-up times where they just had a quick fuck and then what went on their way, basically. Because he was sort of dating someone else while he was fucking Arias as well.
Damn.
It's like, I think the problem, you can say in a sense that he played a very big part, because he just didn't keep her out of his life.
Yeah. There was times.
He went back every single time.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where she went to him and said, one of the times when they broke up, where she told him and said, like, she lost her job, she doesn't have any money, and he told her, listen, you can clean my house and I'll give you a couple of bucks. And he bought her a very skimpy maid
outfit
to wear.
Lord, okay.
So it's it was very sexual, their relationship, and not a good kind of sexual relationship. It's very
very
toxic.
unhealthy. Yeah.
It's so toxic.
Not that I think most just sexual relationships isn't necessarily very healthy, but
but that one
extreme.
particularly.
Yeah. Okay. So my case is more of an older case. Older meaning it happened in 1990. So quite old.
It's not that long ago. It's like
31 years ago. So quite a while ago. Just we don't want to admit to ourselves that we. Yeah. So So the case is about Pamela Smart. Pamela Ann was born in 1967 to Mother Linda and Father John. They moved to New Hampshire from Florida when she was young. In high school, she was a well-loved cheerleader who was popular among her high school peers. After high school, she went to go study at Florida State University, where she aspired to be a television feature reporter. So basically like a news reporter, yeah. While being back in New Hampshire for the holidays in 1986, on New Year's Eve, she met a man named Greg Smart while out at a party with friends. They bonded over their love of heavy metal, and they hit it off so well that after the holiday season, when Pamela returned to university, Greg went with her. Not to study, but just to be with her. So he wasn't actually even planning to study, he just went with her. That's how quickly they progressed.
Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, he was madly in love with her, and she felt the same. They got married in 1989 and moved back to New Hampshire to a town called Derry to start the rest of their lives together. Unfortunately, the happiness in their marriage did not last long. Greg confessed to Pamela that he had cheated on her, and obviously that put a huge strain on their marriage. Pamela started working at a high school as a media coordinator where they created educational videos about drug and alcohol abuse prevention, and she volunteered at a drug awareness program called Project Self-Esteem.
God, that's
The
awful.
90s. At that time, Pamela was 22, still young and fun, which helped her to get along with all the students. This is also when she met a 15-year-old student by the name of William Flynn, but he was better known as Billy. He was completely smitten with her, following her around and helping her with anything and everything. He started visiting her at her office every time he could. It went to a point where it happened on a daily basis. It was easy to recognize that the reasoning behind his behavior was because he was madly in love with her, which did not put Pamela off. She found it gave her a confidence boost after Greg's confession of cheating. She kept encouraging his feelings towards her, never putting a stop to their growing bond. In early 1990, they kissed for the first time. During that time, she also became friends with another volunteer, student Cecilia Pierce, also another teenager. She became Pamela's assistant, and Pamela shared everything with her. Cecilia was a part of Billy's friend group that also consisted of a boy named J.R. Latime and Pete Randall.
Shame, what a name.
In March of 1990, Pamela and Billy started a secret sexual relationship after she invited Billy and Cecilia to her house when her husband was out of town. Their relationship continued for the following weeks. Now we move to the 1st of May 1990. Pamela's husband, Greg, got ready for work and left at 9:45 a.m. Pamela left for work not long after Greg. I want to say Craig the whole time. It's Greg. It's Gregory, but everyone calls him Greg.
Mm-hmm.
She had meetings after work, and that meant that she was going to arrive late. She arrived at home just after 10 p.m., noticing her husband's car, but the house was completely dark. When entering the door to the house, she found her husband laying on the floor. She started screaming and ran to her neighbor's house for help. In the call to the dairy emergency services, the neighbor says to the operator that someone is passed out in their house and that his wife is hysterical. With that, the operator asks, do they know why the man is passed out? The neighbor yells to Pamela, help is on the way. Do you know why he's passed out? The neighbor then replies to the operator that no, they do not know. When 911 arrived, there was nothing they could do. He was already dead. They started an investigation and brought in detectives. They initially thought it might have been a burglary gone wrong because the house was ransacked, but they soon realized that this could not have been the case. Greg's wedding ring with diamonds was still on him. His wallet was found full of cash, and there was no forced entry.
Oh, so he knew the person that opened the door.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But it seems like there was the person was let in. Greg was shot from close range in the head, executioner style. As with all investigations, the closest people to the victims get looked at first.
Mm-hmm.
Pamela was in meetings during the murder time frame, so it could not have been her. But regardless of that, she was on the detective's radar, as she was acting strange after Greg's murder, not really showing emotion, and being very indifferent about the whole situation.
Which is sort of silly, because there's a lot of cases where people don't show emotion because they're in shock.
There's so many different reasons, and everyone processes emotions differently.
But
it got so bad that the media even started calling her the Ice Queen.
Oh wow, okay.
After 2 weeks into the investigation, there was new leads. The father of Billy's friend, J.R., went to the police with his gun, claiming that his gun might have been used in Greg's murder. J.R.'s father used his gun a few weeks ago before the murder, putting it away without cleaning it. When he took his gun out again and found his gun was cleaned, he became suspicious.
That is suspicious.
He was right to be suspicious. It did turn out to be the gun used to shoot Greg. There was also an anonymous call made to the police stating that Cecilia, Pamela and Billy's best friend, knew about the details to Greg's death and that it was all planned by Pamela. The teens were all questioned by the police, but the only one really helping and talking to the police was Cecilia. She said how Pamela was like an older sister to her, that Pamela and Billy started out as friends but soon after started an affair. When the detectives asked her how she knew, she said that Pamela confessed to her that she was in love with Billy. Just keep in mind, a 15-year-old boy, but okay. The reason she knew that they were sleeping together was because Cecilia walked in on them during sex.
Shame, poor girl.
Yeah. She then cooperated with the police by wearing a wire and talking to Pamela at the school. During that conversation, Pamela was trying to gaslight Cecilia to not go to the police with the truth, saying that if she will go to the police, she will be sending them all to prison for the rest of their lives. Stating that Cecilia was an accessory to murder, so she will also go to jail. Basically trying to scare her into it. Even saying that even if she did ask someone to kill for her, the person saying, okay, I will, has to be fucking deranged. Her exact words. Cecilia then replied, Bill did it because he loves you. Ironically, Pamela said that she's scared that Cecilia will one day come to her with a wire and she'll be busted by the police. Yes.
Nice foreshadowing.
On the 1st of August 1990, Pamela Smart was arrested. When the trial began in 1991, the entire trial was so public and created such a drama-filled spectacle that it was so popular everywhere. People viewed it as a soap opera rather than an actual murder trial.
I can see the whole eagerness behind it because it's a scandal. It's a downright scandal. It's school kids killing
teacher figure basically. Yeah, and they actually compare it to like the likes of how O.J. Simpson's case was so public because it was also one of the 90s cases. This was one of the first ones, the big one that was also so public, so in the TV spotlight. At the trial, they were accused of people waiting at the court wanting to see it all unfold. They all lined up really early to get a spot in the seating at the court, where there were only 30 public seats available in court.
Jeez.
The ones that arrived too late watched the whole court proceedings on a TV screen across the courtroom. An entire room filled with people on like a really, really old school tiny TV trying to see what is happening. It came out during the trial that if Pamela and Greg would have gotten a divorce, Pamela would have lost everything, including her beloved dog.
Why though? Are they married outside of community of property?
I'm not exactly sure, but it was said, I think it was said that Greg knew that she wanted a divorce, and I think she would have lost everything, but probably because...
I wonder if they had a prenup.
Might have.
Because if you can show infidelity, I mean, I'm talking out of very thin based knowledge, but if you can
it's supposed, but I think that in the 1990s, in the 90s it wasn't that way. Now you can, if you can prove that someone cheated on you, then
and you have a prenup, you
can fight for it. But obviously that was the 90s.
True.
Yeah. So Billy claimed that Pamela told him that she was abused by Greg, saying he did not want to kill Greg, but that he did not want to lose Pamela. So he eventually agreed to a plan to murder her husband. He even claimed that he chickened out a couple of times and that this made Pamela angry, with her threatening to break up with him if he did not go through with the murder. Billy then spoke to his two friends and asked for their help. They went along with Pamela's original plan, which was, when she leaves for work, she will leave the side doors open so the boys could enter. They had to stage the crime scene to look like it was a burglary gone wrong. They were also allowed to keep things from the house after they have murdered her husband.
Jesus, keepsakes as well.
Mm-hmm. Pamela also promised to give the boys $500 each, which she could get from Greg's life insurance policy.
Okay, $500.
At that time, it was.
It's a lot.
I think it's still a lot in America. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, if you I don't know the multiplication sort of math you have to do to figure out what will $500 be in today's money. But let's say
I think we can Google it.
Yeah, that would be actually quite cool because I'd like to know how much $500 would be in today's money, and then take that into account of how much that will be in rand, because that would be quite interesting. It will probably be a few thousand.
$500 in the 1990s is equivalent in purchasing power to about 996.46 today.
How much?
996.
996.
Yeah.
That's almost $1,000. Wow. Multiply with the exchange rate. It's 14,940.
Yeah.
It's almost
each, remember? And there's 3 boys. Yeah. So that is quite a significant amount. But yeah, she would have gotten that from his life policy.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same with the this is a little off track. The whole, I can't remember their names, the Indian couple that was murdered in Cape Town a couple of years ago. I think in 2010.
Oh, yeah. I know,
and the funny thing is people made not a lot of
speculation.
Not speculation, but they laughed at the amount of pounds that they gave the people to murder, his wife, but it's actually a lot of fucking money.
It is actually a lot of money.
It's like something like 20,000 rand.
Yeah, if you look at...
You can't buy a car with it, but it's...
But if for someone, the people who do those type of things, I think needs to be a certain desperate type of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to be a certain desperate type of person.
But Jesus, I'll take 20,000 rand if someone would give me 20,000 rand. Not killing someone, but
But I get what you mean. Yeah,
so 20,000 rand. It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It can help a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. She allegedly asked Billy not to kill Greg in front of the dog because it will traumatize the dog.
Because she has some morals. So
morals.
Kill the husband. Kill the fucking cheating husband. Just don't do it in front of the dog.
Yeah.
Okay, so she has morals. Okay.
Yeah. That day, apparently Pamela went to work with all her jewelry on because she was afraid the boys might steal it when they go to murder her husband.
That's weird.
Yeah. I just had to put it in there because when I saw it,
that's funny though, because you do want to have your jewelry stolen, because then it is.
No, but the thing is, she said they can take anything, but obviously that she didn't want
them to take.
Yeah, so she wanted it to look like a robbery.
Oh, I think also, she doesn't want them to be busted as well, finding her jewelry, being found with her jewelry.
I don't think it's that. I don't think she cared if they were busted. So, the boys arrived at Pamela and Greg's house. JR and another friend named Raymond Fowler stayed in the car, while Billy and Pete went to go wreck the inside of the house. Afterwards, Billy and Pete waited inside the house for Greg to return from work. As Greg was opening the front door, the boys overpowered him. Greg, thinking it was a robbery, gave them his wallet. Pete saw the ring on Greg's finger and asked to remove it and hand it to him. Greg said he can't do that. When Pete asked him why, Greg said his wife will kill him. Yeah.
The irony in it.
Yeah. Billy then shot Greg, asking God to forgive him before doing so. In the trial, while Billy was retelling his side of what went down, he states multiple times that he did not want to kill Greg and that he just wanted to be with Pam, thinking this was the only way he could be with her.
Shame.
There was a lot of controversy regarding the boy's defense. In 2006, it was actually suggested that Billy was not the one who pulled the trigger. It might have been his friend Pete who shot Greg, as the evidence suggests that the person who used the gun was right-handed. Billy was left-handed and Pete was right-handed.
Yeah, because if you go into gun technicalities, if you shoot with your non-dominant hand, there will be some sort of...
The thing is, you don't have the power, so there will be
exactly.
What do you call it? A
back. You can say backlash. You know?
No, but there's a word for it.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I just
kickback.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you're not steady, and obviously you are not.
You don't know how to position your body as well.
Exactly. Not just that. I mean, if you go with your non-dominant hand, you will aim with your non-dominant eye as well. Because remember, you have a dominant eye as well.
True.
So it will be.
Yeah, but it was literally like he was close range. It was like so he didn't need to aim, but I get where you're going from. Yeah. So, but also, I didn't put this in my show notes, but I think I need to mention it. So, there is also stories that Pete, the friend, he was an aspiring hitman.
Oh God.
So he wanted to be a hitman.
Mm-hmm.
And during the trial, while Billy was on the stand saying or telling the story of what happened minute for minute, he said they went to the kitchen. Pete grabbed a knife, and then when the prosecutor asked him why did Pete grab the knife, Billy couldn't answer. And it was like he wanted to, and then he stopped, and then he said, he just grabbed the knife. And then the lawyer, whatever, asked again, and he's like, he wanted to slit his throat. And then the door started jangling because the guy was putting the keys, and then they ran in, and eventually Billy said he shot him. But yeah, so it might have been, I think it might have been Pete who shot him, but Billy took the blame because he would get the lesser sentence because he's the one that was involved with Pamela. But that's all speculation.
I can see why, because I mean, if your best friend asks you to help with a murder, Megan, I fucking love you. But Jesus, there need to be a good reason why we need to go kill someone now.
Not because my girlfriend, I'm dating an older woman, and I'm dating an older man, and he's married, and all women. Who cares? And I need their significant other to be murdered.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. I wouldn't. The thing is, I would never put you in that position, though. But yeah.
But we're not psycho.
True. Anyway, so they were also testifying against Pamela to get their charges dropped from first-degree murder to second-degree murder. So obviously that was also a red flag. They were also housed together for the months before the trial.
Is that
which
even
tainted
allowed?
their credibility. I think it's not supposed to be allowed, but that was the 90s. I think now it's not allowed, but yeah. So there could have been a lot of like trying to sort out what they're gonna say.
Get the story in line.
Yeah. And it's months. Like, remember, they were arrested in 1990. The trial only started in the beginning of 1991.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a couple of months.
A good couple of months.
A good couple of months to get your story straight.
Exactly. I think that might have been also the reason why Billy said he did it, because
get like you said, a lesser sentence for his friend.
So Billy pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 12 years if he maintained good behavior. Pete's sentencing was the same as Billy's.
That's weird for someone that did the action, so to speak.
Yeah. There was apparently a lot of plea bargains and there was a lot of things going on.
I guess they probably got the lesser sentence as well because they were working against Pam.
Yeah, and also that as well, and also I think because they were minors and
because you would normally go to first. You would go to oh, fuck, I forgot the name now. Term for it.
juvenile,
Juvie, and then afterwards
but
you would
they were sentenced as adults.
How old were they?
16 when the trials began.
Wow. Obviously that's the 90s. It's changed.
Yeah.
Because now you would go to juvie and then you would sometimes have a retrial and then
but
go to jail.
I think it all depends on the circumstances
and
of the
state you're
murder.
in.
That as well. Yeah.
Because in certain states you have certain,
there's certain laws, in
place.
JR, the one who provided the murder weapon, and he was also the one in the getaway car, was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility for parole after 30 years. Which I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I'd like to know too, because I mean he's more of an accessory to murder. He's not he provided the weapon and the getaway car.
Yeah.
But that's not.
Yeah, but I couldn't really figure out why his sentencing was 30 years parole. And then, look, it's not that they were released after 12 years. It's the minimum they have to spend 12 years.
And then only if it's good behavior as well. Meaning no fights in the prison,
but
no stabbings.
But that's the thing is I still don't know why. And the other guy was also sentenced, but he wasn't really mentioned in the sources I used. Then Cecilia was not charged with her role in the murder plot, as she was cooperating with the police.
I guess she probably changed her name.
I'm actually not sure, but they're all in their 40s now, so yeah. During Pamela's defense, they claimed that Billy murdered Greg, because Pamela broke up with him. Her reasoning for the recorded conversation that took place between her and Cecilia is that Pamela had a suspicion that Cecilia knew more about the murder that she was letting on. And that during that conversation, Pamela was trying to get more information out of her from who killed her husband and what happened in that house that day. The jury collaborated till 13 hours and they found her guilty of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. To this day, she still claims her innocence in the murder case. All the boys involved in the case has been released from prison while Pamela is still incarcerated. As of the end of 2020, Pamela Smart has called for a review of her case because the prosecutor who put her behind bars has been accused of withholding key evidence in another case.
Oh shit. Oh fuck. So that literally means that she can almost get out.
Yeah.
So the case will obviously be reviewed, but it basically means that she will have a very lesser sentence.
Well, she's already spent like 30 years in prison.
Exactly.
But it all depends. So Billy was released out of prison. He was released in 2015.
Okay.
The boy that was in the car that they don't really mention, he was released in 2003. JR was released in 2005. And I'm not sure when Pete was released.
I'd like to know if Billy went back to have a word or, keep in contact with her.
I don't think so. He actually got married behind bars. And I don't think so. Yeah.
It's an interesting case.
But
I actually don't know this one.
But Pamela actually... So, like I said, she still says she's innocent. And I can see it, but also... Because the thing is, the whole controversy with the boys in their case. And it's her word against 4 kids.
Exactly, it's an adult.
Yeah, and she admitted to the sexual relationship between her and Billy, which obviously completely tainted her image. And she actually volunteers at so many different places for like.
Shows a very, very good image.
Yeah, so
like a church and soup kitchens and stuff like that.
Well, no, she's now in prison. She volunteers in with so many different things, and she's written a couple of books, and there's so many things that she has done that shows that there might have been her trial was not necessarily given her. The trial didn't give her the benefit of the doubt. No, I don't want to say benefit of the doubt. I mean, like...
that she's innocent.
No, not necessarily innocent. She might be, but I think they put way too much of the blame on her. Even though... but if you think... They say it's an adult dating a young kid, but you think about it, she was only 22. And... in my eyes, 22 is kind of still very young, and
yeah, if I have to think back being 22,
I still thought of myself as a child when I was 22. Not like I thought of myself as a young adult, but I still thought of myself as a child. Like,
but it's the same with the Arias case. I mean, the one thing that makes me think that she couldn't do it is dragging a body
because it was so heavy.
Because a body is heavy.
So heavy, yeah.
And not just that, stabbing someone 27 times. That takes a lot of energy.
But
and remember, it's not flesh. It's bone as well that's going to go through. And not just that, but cut, literally almost decapitating him.
Yeah. But why does she change her story so often and so...
I don't know.
So that's just...
It's her trying to cover for herself and not thinking through.
And the problem with those type of cases is that it's her, like, her word. No one knows because there was no other witness. There was no one else. It's just her.
That's the one thing that sort of makes me just very slightly think she didn't do it. It's because of the aggressiveness. I mean, yes, I've already stated in the previous murder case that anything that has to do with a knife, anything that's bodily done to a person is aggressive, it's personal, it's vengeful. That's the only reason why I can conclude that it's her. But for me, thinking about stabbing someone 27 times and then dragging a body, that for me is just because, again, he is a big guy. I mean, I helped carry my grandfather's casket, and it's heavy. It wasn't a far distance to walk, but it was heavy.
Look, it's, I don't know, like adrenaline can do so much.
Yes, it can. But for me, it's to drag a body.
I don't know. It's weird too. I don't know.
It's a very weird case, but that's the one thing for me.
But I don't know, it's just because I know the case as well, and I looked at the videos of her. She was really...
She's tall.
No, not that. Just that. She acted very weird.
But she's a weird person.
Yeah. You could see that either she didn't do it and she doesn't feel any remorse, and she doesn't really care that he died, or she did do it and again she doesn't feel remorse.
Yeah, it's one of the two.
Yeah,
definitely one of the two.
But anyway, that was our cases for today.
Yeah.
Next week is again going to be something lighthearted, so we don't give you too
many nightmares. For the next episode, we will be discussing fetishes.
Yes, some weird fetishes, because we
get fucked up people out there.
Yeah, and we find it very, very interesting. Yeah, so that is for the next episode.
Follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
Facebook,
all of our social medias.
You can find us on Zombie Chickens podcasts. I mean, it's not that difficult to find.
We are also on YouTube.
Yes.
From last week's episode, we are on YouTube.
And we also have a Patreon.
Yes.
Please
support us on our Patreon.
With a geldje.
With a geldje.
That would help a lot.
Yes. So that is all for today.
Ja, cheers vir eers.
Cheers vir eers.